Your Honor, I've showed what's been previously marked as Exhibit 166. I have no objection as a full exhibit.
All right, court will go ahead and accept into evidence as full Exhibit 166. No objection. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Picarella. First of all, I need you to kind of pull yourself forward. That mic does an awful job amplifying, so I really kind of need you to project into it so we can all hear you. All right? First of all, can you tell us, once again, what's your name?
Christopher Picarella.
And do you have a business?
Yes.
What is your business?
Valley Motorsports in Ansonia, Connecticut.
Okay. There you go. Just free internet publicity just went out for you. With regard to that, do you have any connection to 6.5 Myrtle Street in Ansonia, Connecticut?
Yes, my wife owns the property. My wife and I.
Okay. What's your wife's name?
Carrie Watson.
All right. And with regard to the property, can you generally just describe it for us?
So it's a 3-bay garage on the bottom floor, and it's on a 3-sided corner, and the apartment access is on the back side of the opposite side of the street from the driveway, and I'd say it's a half-acre lot, and yeah, you cannot access the apartment from the garage, and it's totally separate from each other.
Okay, so let's focus on two separate things. First of all, so 6.5 Myrtle, there's a garage you told us about. Is there a residential unit?
Yes, there's an apartment on top of the garage.
Okay. And are there tenants, or were there tenants in December of 2019 who were occupying that apartment?
Yes.
And do you know the name of the tenants?
Christine Holloway.
All right. And with regard to the property, the garage area below, did the tenant living in the residential unit have access to the garage area below?
No, he did not. No, they did not.
Who controlled the garage area below?
I used the garage area.
For what purposes?
It was my workshop, or it is my workshop.
And tell us a little bit about what's inside.
I have ATVs and side-by-sides and toolboxes, and it's my workshop with Valley Motorsports. I'm into motorcycles, and I use it as my personal garage.
Okay. So I'm going to put up for you on the screen, States 10 is a full exhibit. Can you tell me, first of all, if you generally, when I get the right direction for you, do you generally recognize what this is?
Yes, that is the 3-bay garage, the 3 bays of the garage that I use, yes.
Okay, and immediately above, in the photograph, the center bay, there appears to be a gray dormer with a window. What is that?
That is the bay window in the kitchen of the apartment.
Residential unit upstairs?
Yes, yes.
And the windows for this garage here, are you able to see through them and into the garage?
From the outside, not really, because it is tinted.
Okay. Showing you now what's been marked State 6 as a full exhibit. Can you tell me whether you recognize what this is?
That is the property. That is lower level is the back hallway of the garage. You have one entry door on the back side, and 2 entry doors. The further entry door in this picture is the door that I would normally use.
So where my red pen is that the door that you're referring to?
Correct.
And the record can reflect, Your Honor, he's indicated it's the bottom right-hand corner, door closest to the bottom right-hand corner of the photograph.
Thank you.
And so that is a door. Where does that doorway lead?
That doorway leads into the main garage.
Okay. And now I'm relocating my pen to the center of the photograph, bottom part of the photograph. There's a second door here to the front corner of the property. Where does that door lead?
That door leads to a hallway that is attached to the back to the garage. There, at one point in time, there were stairs to get into the apartment from that access point, but the stairs were removed prior to us purchasing the property.
And then there are two windows to the right of the door and to the left on the front facade of the brick foundation there. Where do those windows look into?
The said hallway where the stairs once were.
Okay. And are you able to see through those windows into that area?
No, I have them covered with curtains or blinds.
Also now, there are two more additional windows on the front side of the property now, moving to the far left-hand corner and to the center portion of the front wall. What do those windows look into?
The middle window would be into the hallway, and then the further window would be into the bathroom. There's a bathroom in the lower portion of in the garage.
Okay, so do I currently have the red pen positioned at the bathroom, the downstairs bathroom window?
Correct.
And using again the red pen, there is what appears to be a doorway here behind some wooden railings on the top portion. Are you able to identify what that is?
That would be the entry door to the apartment.
All right. And now, this going back to the bathroom in the garage, is there anything directly above the bathroom in the garage in the residential units?
Yes, there would be the bathroom in the residential unit.
All right. So, how many bathrooms in the residential unit?
One.
How many ways in and out of the residential unit?
One.
So this is the only way in and out?
Correct.
And that the only bathroom in the residential unit would be directly above the bathroom in the workshop area?
Correct.
I want to call your attention to the weekend immediately following Thanksgiving of 2019. Do you remember that weekend?
I do.
And why do you remember that weekend?
I was over in the garage working on. I was at the time I was still building the garage, and I was working on a wooden sign box, like for a large Honda dealer sign, and I was building the box to hang the sign on the wall.
And first of all, looking at you today, you have a very well coiffed beard on you as you sit in court today. Did you have that facial hair in 2019?
I had a mustache and maybe a little bit down here, not nearly what this was.
And would it be fair to say your hair is red or brown or ginger color?
Yes.
Was
Yes.
it the same color hair back in 2019?
Yes.
So now, with regard to that weekend, did there come a point in time where your mother joins you at the property that weekend?
Yes.
So, and do you recall which day that was?
That was on Sunday.
All right. And would that be December the 1st of 2019?
Correct.
All right. And talking to, and you were there on Friday and you were there on Saturday as well?
Correct.
Was your mother with you there on Friday or Saturday?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Well,
No, she was not there.
all right. So the only day she was with you was on Sunday.
Correct.
So now, do you recall what time you arrived at the property on Sunday, December the 1st?
2 o'clock.
And do you recall what time you left?
6 o'clock.
And you're very certain as to your times.
Yes.
Are you able to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why you are very certain as to the times that you arrived and that you left?
I have GPS locations of my phone. I have screenshots of my phone from the GPS locations of while I was there.
At some point in time during the course of a subsequent police investigation that you participated in, did you otherwise refresh your recollection as to your times that you were there by looking at the screenshots that you had taken of your phone?
I did.
And is that how you are able to recall with specificity when you were there?
Correct.
So now, staying on the Sunday, December the 1st, you said you arrived at 2 o'clock, and what exactly was your purpose? What were you doing?
I was building the large frame for the Honda sign that I was trying to hang on the wall.
Okay. And when you say you're building, describe the process for us.
I was using power tools, drills. I was using a compound saw, cutting wood, cutting 2x6s, and yes.
And what was your mom doing when you're doing this?
Assisting me holding the 2x6s, and while I would cut the wood, she would hold one end of the wood so it wouldn't fall, and yeah, she was assisting me with the process.
And at some point, let me show you what has been marked as states as 166. It's a full exhibit, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Up on the screen. Do you generally recognize what this is?
Those are the sign, the boxes, and the Honda sign that I was referring to.
Okay. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit tighter. So first of all, can you just tell us about some of the things that we're seeing in this photograph? And there's a monitor for you as well.
So there is my UTV side by side in the center. I have two pre-built sign boxes leaning up against the side of the UTV, and then in the foreground is the part of the Honda sign in the box on what I believe is a table. And then I got a table saw in the back right corner, and then some storage boxes in the left, and then the file cabinets in the left. And if you go around the back corner, there's a refrigerator and more file cabinets and the bathroom that I was referring to earlier.
And can you tell us again about the bathroom? Where exactly is the bathroom? Can you see it in this photograph at all?
So the bathroom would be in relation to the Honda Pilot sign that's in the left corner. If you're standing underneath that Honda, that Pilot sign.
Okay, so if I, for the
Yes.
record, Your Honor, I have my pen pointing towards the upper left-hand corner of the screen. There is a black sign with red lettering towards the ceiling. Is that the Honda sign there that you're referring to?
Correct.
Let me actually.
So if you stood underneath that, the bathroom door would be immediately to your left.
All right. And then again, is it so under this? Is there a hallway? What's over there?
So it is I'd say 10 foot by 10 foot recess off the back of the garage, and then the bathroom is to your left.
Is that the hallway?
Yes, the width of the hall. It stays with the width of the hallway.
So back on state 6. So that front door there.
Correct.
Goes down the hallway, and here's the window here.
I can't see where you're pointing.
Sorry. So into down this hallway, and this is the bathroom window here?
Yes. So yes.
And that's the bottom left-hand portion of the foundation, Your Honor, underneath the wooden railing. And so coming at it from this direction, under the Pilot sign, you walk back into that same hallway, and there's the bathroom?
Correct.
So now, and we left that the bathroom for the upstairs is almost directly above the bathroom here.
Correct.
So now, again, just kind of help us all understand the apartment above. So from the perspective where this photograph is being taken from, what's behind the photographer's position here?
In the apartment?
Yes.
So it would be living room space. You would be looking at the kitchen facing the direction of this photo. Behind you would be what I would call the living room.
Okay. So we're looking at this perspective from the Judson side is behind me.
Correct.
And I'm looking across the apartment effectively towards west.
Correct.
And Myrtle would be to my left.
Correct.
So from this perspective of where you are now, the bathroom is sort of up in this direction. My arm is in the left-hand position. Your Honor, elevated to the front left.
Correct.
So now, when you were there between 2 and 6, did you make any observations?
I did make an observation. I was at one point using the saw and I heard what sounded like movement of furniture upstairs, and it was enough noise to have me stop what I was doing and conversate with my mother, who was also there with me, and just ask what is going on upstairs.
So, is it fair to say you go to this garage often?
It is.
Okay. And in times when you've been there before, have you been aware that there's a tenant upstairs?
Yes.
And what types of sounds would you hear in the past with regard to tenants?
You could hear walking upstairs, pitter-patter of feet, and normal. Nothing that was, I'd say, out of the normal. Nothing heavy movement, anything of the sort.
In terms of the separation between this garage workshop area for you and the residential unit, did you take any steps at the time that you created this with regard to separating out insulation and noise between the two places?
Yes. At the time when we purchased the property, there was no insulation or sheetrock in the bathroom ceiling or in the back hallway area either. Because I wanted to use the garage as a workshop and there were people living upstairs, I took steps to try to sound deaden the hallway and the bathroom, because I was going to put an air compressor in the back hallway and I wanted to keep the noise down. So I put sheetrock up in hopes to try to quiet it down.
And the garage itself, is that otherwise also sheetrocked and insulated?
Correct.
And therefore, based upon your normal activity at this time, you're aware at times of other tenant movement.
Correct.
But was this episode now on December the 2nd, was that typical of the type of noises that you would hear?
No, it was loud. It was louder than normal.
And again, can you describe what it is that you thought was going on?
It sounded like somebody was moving furniture.
And am I understanding you correctly that the sound of this noise was of sufficient quality that you stopped working with power tools that you were using?
Correct.
And did I understand you correctly that you said something to your mother about it?
Yes.
And how long did this go on for?
I'd say a minute or so, a couple minutes max.
Okay. And did you then continue on with what you were doing?
Correct, I did.
All right. I have nothing further, thank you.
All right, so
Your
this
Honor,
is a good
I'm
time.
going to have the witness for a little while, so I
Yeah.
was wondering if we could take the break at this
We would go into lunch recess. May I see council sidebar before we do that, please? So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are going to stand in our lunch recess now. We will resume evidence again at 2 p.m. today. So we'll be back at 2. Court stands in recess. Thank you.
All rise, court's in recess. The Honorable Judge Murphy presiding. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Are we ready to proceed? We have a witness on the stand. We'll bring the witness back on the stand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Sir, come on up. We'll have you retake the stand, okay? Just watch your step. Yes, please. Just would like to remind you, sir, you do remain under the obligations of your oath that you took when you entered the witness stand, okay? All right, we can bring the jury in, Madam Clerk. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Counsel, please stipulate to the return of all of our jurors.
To the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we continue on with the examination? Thank you.
Thank you. I think I was up, Your Honor.
You are-
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Picarella. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being here with us. Have you ever testified before?
No.
First time, huh?
Yes.
Everyone treating you okay?
Yep.
That's good. All right. I just want to run through the events that you testified to on direct examination this morning as well. And I also have the records of your interviews and such, okay?
Okay.
So see if it's consistent with you. And we'll start off with the easy thing. You and your wife own the property at 6.5 Myrtle?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it looks like on Tuesday, December 3rd, you spoke with a detective by the name of Detective Esposito from the Ansonia Police Department.
Correct.
Is that correct? Do you know Detective
Yes.
Esposito?
Yeah.
You knew him before that?
No.
No,
I did
that
not.
was the first time?
Yeah.
Okay, and just tell us, how was it that you came back to speak with Detective Esposito?
He came. We got a phone call that everything had happened Tuesday morning, and he, throughout the whirlwind process that was, we started talking. He interviewed me.
Sure. You were the property owner, and they were
Right.
doing an investigation,
Right.
right? And you didn't know anything about the specifics
No.
of what they were investigating?
No.
Yeah, okay. And then, do you remember, did Detective Esposito come to you over at Valley Motorsports or your home, or did you go to him? Do you recall?
I went to the police department.
Okay, all right. And you certainly recall speaking with him?
Correct.
All right, great. And when you were speaking with him, you told Detective Esposito that you were working on Friday, 11/29/2000. Let me just finish because we can't talk at the same time. You originally told him you were working on Friday, 11/29/2019, downstairs in the garage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And just so we're all oriented, Friday was the day after Thanksgiving.
Correct.
Okay, great. And you were cooperative with the officer at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you told him that you heard footsteps upstairs, correct?
Correct.
Right? And you told him that you heard a male voice. Is that correct?
I don't recall the male voice at the time right now. No.
Okay. You don't recall if you told the officer that
Yeah,
you heard
that,
a
correct.
male voice. He'll be in here to testify as well, so it's fine. Do you recall telling the officer that you had last seen Christine Holloway when she paid the rent on November 15, 2019?
My wife handled getting the rent payments. I did not.
Okay.
So I do not recall that.
You don't recall telling that to the officer?
I do not.
Okay, all right. And then, let's see if we can walk through here from Tuesday, which was the 3rd. Your mom and you went to the Ansonia Police Department. it sounds
Correct.
like, Right? And that was in the afternoon. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. And your mom is Lori.
Yes,
Did you come here together with your mom?
Yes.
Yeah, she's here to testify today too, correct?
correct.
Okay. And then you met with Detective Brian Hart at that point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And both you and Mom went, and did you meet them in the lobby, or did you meet them in the detective bureau or an interview room?
I think we met them in the lobby.
In the lobby. Okay. And was Mom with you?
Yes.
Did they separate the two of you, or were you interviewed together, if you recall?
I don't recall whether we were separated or interviewed together.
Okay, all right. And when you went to the Ansonia PD, you had some material changes to your story in regard to when you were at 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you originally told them that you were there on Friday, and then you said you went to the garage on Sunday, 12/1, not Friday, 11/29.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. And what time, if you recall, did you go to the garage area of 6.5 Myrtle on Sunday, 12/1?
Between 2 and 6 p.m.
Okay. And was Mom with you then?
Yes.
Okay. And you were downstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you told the officers that you didn't recall hearing hammering noises upstairs. Is that correct?
I did not hear hammering noises. I heard what sounded like furniture movement.
Okay. Right. I was just going to ask you that. But your recollection is when you were downstairs working in the garage that you heard furniture moving. Is that right?
Correct.
And you were doing woodworking downstairs?
Yes.
And you were using power tools like saws and such?
Correct.
Okay. I may have missed this just in general. What were you doing on the afternoon of Sunday, December 1st, down in the workshop?
Working on cutting wood, building that Honda sign.
Okay. And was Mom with you?
Yes.
Was she helping out as well?
Yes.
That's terrific. Now, sir, one of the reports indicated, or maybe you even testified to that back then you were smoking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you recall going outside of the garage area when you would smoke?
I don't per se recall a specific instance, but I would smoke inside, smoke outside.
Okay.
I wouldn't only smoke outside.
Okay.
So-
Do you recall telling Detective Hart that it was your habit to smoke outside?
I don't recall that, but I very well could have.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Hey, it's 5 years ago. It's okay. Sir, when you were outside, would you agree with me that the adjoining property is 6 Myrtle Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know Mr. George O'Meara
Yes.
that lives there? Okay.
Yeah.
Just back up for a second. How long was it that you and your wife, Carrie Watson, owned the property at 6.5?
Since 2018.
In 2018. Okay, so we're in 2019 that we're talking about now. So you had it for about a year at that point?
I'd say less than a year.
Less than a year. Okay, that's fine. But you had occasion to meet the next door neighbor, Mr. O'Meara, for example?
Yeah, we would say hello to each other.
Sure, yeah. Well, you're good neighbors, right? It's a residential area.
Right.
Okay, terrific. Now I'm going to ask you specifically on Sunday, when you were with Mom, okay, in the downstairs garage bay area working, did you recall anyone leaving the next door neighbor's house at 6 Myrtle in the afternoon time?
No,
You
I
didn't
don't recall that.
You don't recall seeing anyone then? Okay, great. Now, when you were with Mom on Sunday and you said you heard furniture moving, did you go upstairs and see if there was anything going on?
I never went inside that apartment while they lived there.
Okay, not one time ever?
No.
Including this time frame of December of 2019?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct.
Now, I'm just going to go forward a little bit, okay? We were talking about, you went to the Ansonia Police Department, you talked to them about being at the property, and then it looks like on Thursday, December 5th, you had gone and spoke to an officer, John Fitzgerald. Do you remember that?
Yes, they called me and asked me to go down to the police department for another interview.
Okay, all right. And did you go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Right, and you told the officers the same thing when you went down to the police station, that you recall hearing the furniture moving upstairs?
Correct.
Right, okay, no problem there. Do you recall having a concern, sir, with the property that the lights and the heat were on at one
Yes.
point? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, you just tell us in your own words, you went back to the property to see if you could get in the property to adjust the heat.
I wanted to turn down the heat in the garage, and I wanted to shut the lights off in the garage, and I would ask to have the windows closed in the apartment.
Yep. Totally fine. Would you agree with me at the point that you went there on Thursday, December 5th, the house was still secured by the police department?
That's what I was told, yes.
Right, I mean, you couldn't just walk.
No, I was not allowed on the property.
Not allowed on the property?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you went there and you made a reasonable request and said to the officer, hey, would there be any way that I could get into the garage and turn down the heat and
Right.
turn the lights off? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that was a patrol officer that was stationed there to make sure that nobody went into the property?
Yes, it was on the driveway side of the property
Okay.
that I spoke with the officer.
Okay. And you spoke to the officer at that time, correct?
Yes.
Right, okay. And while you were waiting to see whether or not you could get in to just go ahead and turn the heat down or turn the lights down, you chatted with the officer, correct?
I don't recall what I said, but I would, yeah, I wanted to walk up the property.
Right. Let's do it this way. The officer had to check with his supervisors. He didn't have authority to let you into the building.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I take it you went there, you made the request, hey, I own the property, can I get in there and turn the heat down? And the officer would have said, I gotta check with my supervisors.
Yes.
Right? And you were waiting there with them.
Correct.
Okay, we're doing fine, okay? And do you recall telling the officer that Christine Holloway lived in the apartment for about a year and a half?
I would say that's a fair estimate, yes.
Yeah. And you only had 5 or 6 interactions with Miss Holloway?
I would call it a handful.
Yeah. Okay. And you told us, right? Your wife Carrie was responsible for the
She
rest.
handled that aspect of it.
She took care of that.
Correct.
Okay, great. And you told the officer, that, for example, at that point, back in December of 2019, that you had never gone up to the apartment.
Correct.
Okay. And you told Officer Fitzgerald, as you told Attorney Stein, there was no access from the garage up to the apartment.
Correct.
Okay, terrific. And you told the officer that the furniture noise, the loud noise that you heard didn't concern you at that point.
It was enough to have me stop using the tools that I was using and say, geez, that's a lot of commotion upstairs.
There was a lot of noise.
Right.
Right? Okay. But it wasn't to the point that you decided to go upstairs and check.
No.
No.
But I wouldn't, no. No.
And you didn't pick up the phone and call the police department and say, hey, I heard loud noises upstairs. It's concerning.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Okay. And then I just want to tighten this up. We're just about done. So it seems that you went there on Thursday to go ahead and turn the heat down and turn the lights, whatever you thought, close the windows, whatever you thought was appropriate at the property. Would you agree with me that it looks like maybe around 7 o'clock that night that you got the green light to go ahead and unlock the door to allow the officer to go in and turn the heat down and turn the lights down?
It was dark out. I don't recall what time it was.
Oh, I mean,
But
it wasn't midnight. Right?
No, no.
All right. Yeah, it gets dark early in December, right? Okay.
Correct.
Right? And at no time while you were there at the property, had you ever heard things like screaming, for example?
No.
No, okay. Yelling?
No.
No. And you never called the police, and you never went in the apartment?
No.
Hey, thanks for your time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Attorney Jersa. Come, sir. Could you just adjust that light so it's not on the Elmo?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good afternoon, Mr. I was about to call you Mr. Morales. Good afternoon, Mr. Picarella.
Very good.
I want to show you,
What's that?
that's it.
That's him? Oh, okay. Where's this from?
Screen.
Oh, okay. What number is that?
It's going to be 167. 167.
Thanks so much. Your Honor, the state just showed me exhibit number 167. I have no objection to it.
All right, with no objection, court will
Thank-
accept into evidence states 167 full.
Mr. Picarella, I just want to show you a quick picture. 165 is a full exhibit in this case. This is a picture that was identified as a photo of Mr. Morales. Are you able to see that picture?
Yes.
Now, I asked you earlier on your direct about your hair, your facial features and your hair back in 2019.
Correct.
First of all, I asked you, was your hair, I mean, it used to be redheaded or ginger color, as people might say. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Right. And your hair appears right now today in 2025 is short.
Correct.
Was it similarly short in 2025?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 2019.
Yes.
And now this beard that you have, did you have that in 2019?
No, I had a little bit down here and then the mustache.
Okay. Can I show you what has been marked as states 167? Do you generally recognize who this handsome fellow is?
That is myself.
Okay. And is that appeared to be the way you appeared in 2019?
Correct.
So if I zoom back out, Your Honor, here's the button. So I would point out to the court in this full exhibit that this is appears, as we've seen from previous exhibits, to come from a body camera recording. Do you know when you were talking with officers, Mr. Picarella, whether you were being recorded by body camera? Do you know?
I was aware.
And do you believe that there are any similarities between you in 2019 and Jose Morales in 2019?
I would say that we are not overly similar, no.
I have nothing further.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, you're all set. You may step out of the witness box. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, state would like to call its next witness, please.
Lori Picarella.
Thank you. afternoon. If you could just remain standing for a moment, Madam Clerk is going to put you under oath, okay? Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your address for the record, please.
Hi, Ms. Picarella. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
First of all, you see that mic right in front of you? Can you kind of pull that up towards your mouth a little bit or slide yourself in a little bit?
Okay.
You're really soft-spoken, and I'm very deaf. So if you can keep your voice up for us, that would be very helpful. Okay? Can I get a 1, 2, 3 testing?
1, 2, 3.
One more time.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, is that good?
better?
Can
Yeah.
we
Okay.
kind of keep it there? Great. All right. So that handsome fellow who just walked out of the courtroom, who was that?
That was my son, Christopher.
All right. And I want to ask you whether Christopher is married,
Yes, he is.
and what is his wife's name?
Carrie.
And do they own a piece of property in Ansonia, Connecticut?
Yes, on Myrtle Street.
Okay. Would it be 6.5?
6.5 Myrtle.
Okay. And did they own it back in December of 2019?
Yes.
And I want to call your attention to the weekend just following Thanksgiving of 2019 and ask whether, well, first of all, are you aware, does your son sort of have any access or does he maintain anything at that property?
Well, he maintains practically the whole property. Well,
Okay.
the-
Not sort of not cutting the grass, but I mean, does he have any sort of a business or does he operate out of that building at all?
No business. He has a shop downstairs.
Okay, so he has a workshop downstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, where downstairs? Is it
Where the 3-bay garage is,
okay?
directly underneath the apartment.
Very good. So under the 3-bay, under the apartment at the 3-bay garage, Chris has a shop there, right? All right. So, does Chris go to the shop sometimes to do work there?
Yes,
Okay.
he does.
And I want to call your attention to that weekend following Thanksgiving weekend. Do you recall, did you go with Chris to the shop that weekend?
Yes, that Sunday afternoon he came and picked me up.
Okay.
Yes.
So now I just want to kind of back up for a second and say you just told us Sunday afternoon. And do you know if that was December 1st of 2019?
Yes.
Okay. The Saturday before the day before would have been November 30th, and the day before that, Friday, would have been November the 29th. Did you go with him at all on Friday or Saturday?
No.
Okay.
Because we had, okay. No.
So you just went Sunday. All right. So now, do you recall when you approximately what time you got to the garage on Sunday?
Say 2 o'clock-ish or around there.
Okay. And do you know when you left?
Around 6.
Okay. Now, this is 5.5 years ago. That's a long time
Yeah.
ago, right? And you seem very certain about the dates. Is there a reason why I'm sorry, about the times. Is there a reason why you're very certain about the times?
Because it was sort of, yeah, he picked me up in the afternoon and we went, and then it was snowing out sort of, and so we were done with what we had to do, so.
Do you recall at some point looking back at your cell phone to determine times that you were at the property?
No, I don't do that.
Okay. Now, with regard to then on Sunday, December the 1st, when you arrived at the workshop, what was Chris doing?
Well, I was helping him make frames for this Honda sign that he has, and so we were cutting wood and measuring and putting together that.
All right. So Chris was cutting the wood.
Yes,
He was using power
bandsaw, yeah.
All right. And you were helping him.
Yes, well, not with the saw, but no.
Okay. All right. Showing you what has been marked as states 166. Can you tell me, do you generally recognize what this is?
That is an area of the workshop, yes.
All right. And I want to call your attention to sometime while you were down in this space, Chris was working, you were helping. Do you recall hearing any unusual noises?
Well, we heard heavy dragging, heavy movement upstairs, which was out of the ordinary.
Okay. Well, you said it's out of the ordinary. Had you been in that workshop before on other
Oh, I
occasions?
do various times, yes. I would go over there often.
And during the times that you had been there before, had you ever heard noises like that coming from the upstairs?
No.
On this particular date, when you heard these heavy noises, what happened between you and Chris?
Well, I think if I remember right, I mentioned something about it, and we were just trying to figure out what it was.
Okay.
Curious.
So when this noise was happening, did Chris stop what he was doing?
Well, we were stopping intermittently with the saw and putting the stuff together, but you could still hear it from overhead.
And at some point in time, did Chris go back to working with his saws?
Yes.
And shortly thereafter, did you hear anything?
Yes, I did. I heard something like a banging, and I heard 3 bangs. They were sounded like a hammer or something, which I thought was strange because if they're, I don't know, I just thought it was strange. It was not normal.
Can you describe the banging that
Yes.
you heard?
They were like, and then a pause, and the last one was really hard, and the third one was a pause, and then a bang at the end.
Okay, so I want to be clear. Did you just sort of describe with your hand on your table that you heard 2 bangings in close?
Yes.
Yeah,
and then a pause,
There's applause.
and then a really big one at the end.
And what kind of applause are we talking about? A second, 5 seconds?
Well, the first 2 bangs were like bang, 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 and then like bang. I don't know if it was a second, 2 seconds. I don't know.
All right. But in your mind, there was at least a separation of some
Yes,
moment
definitely.
between the initial 2 and then the third one.
Yes.
So now, that. We lost the stream. Okay. Apparently, I'm having technical difficulties. The area that you heard this banging coming from. First of all, can you tell us where you were in this photograph when you heard that sound?
Let me see where the D is.
This D right here?
The Honda D.
This
I was up. Yeah, stay to the right, but
Here?
up around, a little closer in, but I was around that area.
Where my pen is now?
Maybe a little yeah,
This
around
way?
there. Yeah, around there, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Your Honor, my pen is on the right side of the photograph. There is an upside down D on a red sign, a white letter, and my pen is just in front of that sign towards the middle of the photograph.
Thank you.
And Ms. Picarella, can you sort of localize for me where it is that you heard the bang, those
Well, it's
bangings?
definitely coming from the ceiling.
The ceiling
This
where?
here. Like around where the fan going.
I'm sorry.
Where the fan is, the fan.
So somewhere over here,
Yeah, around that area.
Okay, where
It
my-
sounded like,
where my
yeah, it was from the ceiling. Well,
right.
definitely the ceiling.
I'm just trying to ask you if you're capable of localizing it. So where I have my pen now is here's the ceiling fan.
Yeah, it was around in that general area.
Okay. So first of all, Your Honor, my pen is there's a ceiling fan towards the top part of the photograph, and my pen is just to the right under what looks like to be a hydraulic or an air hose at the top of the picture.
All right, court will note it for the record, thank you.
And so is that the area where you believe those banging noises were coming?
Well, they were coming out from the ceiling. Yeah, from the ceiling area. Yeah.
So is it fair to say, where is the bathroom? Where is the bathroom downstairs in this shop?
Okay. Where the ATC sign is, there's another hallway there.
Okay.
That's a hallway. And then there's the first door on the left is the bathroom.
So this ATC sign here,
Yes. Yes.
and is this the hallway entrance to the bathroom?
Yes.
So, again, if this is the hallway entrance into the bathroom where you had me direct, am I sort of in the same general area here?
Yeah, in this area up there. Yeah. Up there.
Thanks. I have nothing further.
All right, Attorney Gavin Cross.
Hi, Ms. Picarella. How you doing?
Hi. Fine, thank you.
Thanks for being with us today.
Okay.
You ever testified before?
No.
You put a chapter in the book. You got
I
to come
know.
to court and testify, right? I just have a couple of questions with you. You just saw Chris. Chris just testified, right? You got the carpool hopefully together?
Yes, we drive together.
That,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Now, if I understand correctly, and you tell me if you're wrong, the police reports indicate that you and your son Christopher went to the Ansonia Police Department to the lobby on Tuesday, December 3rd. Is that correct? If you recall.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a Wednesday or Tuesday. I don't know. But it was a couple days later.
Okay. Was it a couple of days after Chris had already spoken to the police?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. You talked to the police officers, correct? And you would agree with me that you weren't the property owner of 6.5 Myrtle,
I agree.
right?
I-
Okay.
yeah.
Chris and his wife
Carrie,
Carrie owned,
yeah.
right? Okay, that's great. So tell me, on Sunday, on the 1st, you testified that you were at the garage area that was just shown on the exhibit. It's still up there. And was that the afternoon hours?
Yes, in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, right? Chris had gone and picked you up at your home and went back to Ansonia? Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. And you were helping him?
Yeah, we've always done that.
Okay.
So it's not anything unusual.
No,
I always help him.
it's very nice. You helped him with woodworking and whatever he
Yeah,
was
whatever he needs. Whatever. And for an extra hand,
I'm sorry?
sometimes you need two people to do something.
doing. Okay.
And
Hold the tape measure at
I'm
both
the-
ends.
other person to do it.
Yeah, no, you're helping your son out, right? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, great. And let me ask you about what you just testified to. You said that when you were downstairs in the shop area, right, there's a 3-car garage down there. That's the shop area, correct? Okay. And you said that you heard 3 bangs. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And
Yeah.
Can you tell us, I think you said you got there around 2 o'clock. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Around there, yeah.
And you left around 4:30. Is that correct?
6, I said, I think.
You left around 6?
I don't know if we left. It was snowing out, so we left, and it was.
Oh, okay. If you don't, it's okay. Do you recall approximately what time you left?
5, 6, 4, I don't know, within an hour or that. I don't know.
Okay, let's do it the
Yeah.
easy way. The banging that you heard?
Yes,
Was it soon after you got there or right just before you left or in the middle?
in the middle.
In the middle. Okay, that's fine. So you had gone to the shop with Chris, and some period of time went by, and then you said you heard the banging. Is that correct? Right? And do you remember going to the Ansonia Police Department and speaking to Detective Brian Hart?
Yes.
Yes. Did you know Detective Hart?
No.
Okay. And do you know who Detective Esposito is?
No. I mean, his name is probably, I only really spoke with Brian Hart, Detective Hart.
I'm just going to finish up here just with a couple of questions for you. The officers are going to come in and testify, so it's fine.
Okay.
Okay. But you went to the Ansonia Police Department with your son Chris, and he told the police officers that he had given them bad information regarding when he was at the garage.
Oh, well, maybe, yeah, because he said that he gave the wrong days, and I said no, because we had 2 Thanksgivings. Well, we had Thanksgiving Day, and then I made another turkey on Friday, and then whatever. But he was mixed up on his days and on what happened.
Yeah, and you went to the Ansonia Police
Yes.
Department with him to speak to the police officers. Good? Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you tell the officers that you never heard any screaming or yelling upstairs while you were there?
No, I did not.
Okay. You didn't
I
hear...
mean, I did not hear anything, and no, I did not.
Right. And you didn't hear anything. Okay. Did you recall telling the police officers that you never had any contact with the upstairs tenants?
I've never met either of them. I've never met either of them.
Okay. And did you even tell the police officers you had never been to the apartment upstairs?
I don't know. I saw pictures of it. I don't know if I was before. No, I never really went up there. Or maybe I did, and I don't remember. But no, I had no reason to go up there.
Sure. Okay. My last question for you is, do you recall telling the police officers that you had never been upstairs in the apartment?
No, that was 5 years ago. I don't remember if I
You
said
don't
that or
remember.
not.
That's okay. Thank you, Ronna. I have no other
Okay.
questions. Thanks
Okay.
for your time.
Okay.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You're all, okay, you're all set. You're free to exit the witness box, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Just watch your step as you exit.
Yes.
May I just see counsel sidebar quickly? Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's take a call. Jonathan Tresser to the stand.
Good afternoon. Will you please step up into the witness box, remain standing. Madam Clerk will put you under oath, okay? Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your badge number for the record, please.
Jonathan Tresser, Troesser, badge number 45.
Thank you.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I have a moment with counsel, Your Honor.
Yes.
This is the montage, right? This is the mess. No. Just tell me what numbers they are each month.
Your Honor, 168, 169, I refer to the counsel.
Your Honor, I've seen 168 and 169. I have no objection to their introduction. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. With no objection.
Identify which is which.
So
It's okay. Court will accept into evidence states full with no objection. 168, which appears to be a map, and 169, which is a DVD. Thank you.
good afternoon, Mr. Tresser.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you're currently employed by?
The City of Ansonia Police Department,
And how long have you been a police officer?
17 years and 9 months.
And what are your current responsibilities?
I'm currently assigned to the Detective Division.
And did you have to go through any training to be a police officer?
I graduated from the Waterbury Police Academy in 2007. Did field training with the department. I've attended other specialized training, such as DEA Basic Narcotics School. I served on the DEA task force for about 5.5 years. And then I did other training and experience, or other training classes ongoing annually, and regarding interview and interrogation and other training related to the Detective Division.
Now, were you working for the Ansonia Police Department on December 2nd of 2019?
I was, as a member of the DEA task force.
And what do you mean by that?
On the DEA task force, we are employed by the City of Ansonia Police Department, but we work outside the agency in New Haven under the task force, the federal task force.
So effectively, you were working in New Haven and not necessarily with the Ansonia Police Department at that particular time?
Correct, but I was still an Ansonia police detective.
Okay. So I want to direct your attention to an investigation that occurred on or about that day. Do you recall an investigation that was instituted on that day?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recall about that?
I had finished my normal shift at around 5 o'clock on that December 2nd. I got a call at home to respond to the police department where there was a report of a suspected homicide and a missing child. And I responded to the police department, and I was briefed on the case at that point, what details were discovered up until that point. At the time, when I responded to the police department, I was briefed by Lieutenant Froelich and Lieutenant Lynch, I believe, and there was information regarding a vehicle that had left the house on 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, and we had information that the vehicle was registered to a Jose Morales, and that the vehicle was registered to a 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
So when you got this information, what were your responsibilities at this point?
At this point, New Haven PD was contacted, and they had located the vehicle parked in front of the residence in New Haven. Myself and Officer Nelson were assigned to go out to New Haven and to maintain visual surveillance of that parked vehicle, while other members of the agency and other agencies were gathering more intel back at the police department in Ansonia and at the original crime scene.
So, and did you in fact do that?
Yes.
And what happened after you did you maintained visual surveillance of the vehicle?
Myself and Officer Nelson relieved New Haven officers that located the vehicle. We sat in my unmarked DEA vehicle, and at one point I exited the vehicle before it started snowing too heavily, and I was plainclothes at the time. I walked past the parked vehicle, looked in it to see if there was a car seat base at the time, because that was a major concern. of the missing child. At the time, I saw a baseball bat in the front passenger floorboard, but there was no car seat or car seat base in the vehicle. We waited until about 3:40 a.m. on December 3rd until other personnel arrived on scene to make contact at the residence.
So how long would you say you were on surveillance that night?
I would estimate it was anywhere from 4 to 5 hours.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53. Is this the vehicle that you saw that night at 105 First Avenue, New Haven?
Yes, it is.
State's 52, another angle of the vehicle. Again, is that the same vehicle?
Yes.
And 54, is that the vehicle that you saw that night?
Yes.
Now, when other detectives arrived at 105 First Ave, what was your responsibilities at that point?
At that time, we made contact with the assistance of New Haven PD, with the residents of the house. The male that opened the door for us and allowed us into the residence, his name was Marcos, let us in. We advised him while we were there. We were there to speak to Jose and also to look for the missing child, Vanessa.
Now, outside of that, did you have any investigative purpose when you were at 105 First Ave?
So when we were at 105 First Ave the first time, we were looking for any evidence of Vanessa, obviously. After the Lieutenant Froelich and Detective Adcox at the time transported Jose Morales back to the police department for an interview. Again, I maintained surveillance of the vehicle, and the plan was to wait until the family went back to sleep and the lights turned off, but that didn't happen, so we towed the vehicle around 5:40 in the morning, I believe, and I followed the vehicle back to the Troop I barracks in Bethany, and it was not touched or manipulated in any way on the exterior or the interior.
Now, at some point in time, were you present when there were, when search warrants were executed on that vehicle?
On the following day, the 4th, I was present while the State Police Major Crimes Unit executed the search warrant on the vehicle. I did not participate in the search warrant, but I was there to maintain custody of the vehicle as they performed their search.
Now, after that search warrant was conducted, can you tell us a little bit about what else you did in connection to this case?
I had left the Troop I barracks and returned back to Ansonia, went back to the residence at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue to get the keys for the victim's vehicle, which was a black Ford Focus. The house was still being maintained by Ansonia police personnel at that time. I brought the keys out of the residence, and the vehicle was again towed to Troop I barracks and was not touched inside or out.
And were you present when was there a search warrant done on that vehicle as well?
Yes, there was.
And were you present for that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
After that warrant was executed on that vehicle, what else did you do in relation to this case?
Once both vehicles were processed, all the evidence that was seized from the state police, I transported back to the Ansonia Police Department. It was labeled and placed into the evidence room.
Now, after you did that, what else did you do in connection to this case?
On the following day, we had a report of information of items being recovered at the Education Storage Facility in Hamden. There were items that were reported to have blood-like substance on them, and we responded out to the scene in Hamden, along with the State Police Major Crime Squad, who ultimately processed the evidence that was seized there.
Okay, and in addition to helping out, or I guess responding to Kitchucation, is there anything else that you did in relation to the investigation in this case?
On scene at the Kitchucation facility in Hamden, I conducted a few interviews with the owner, the truck worker that was with the truck driver, a few other employees at the building. We also obtained consent from the owner of the facility to access and search the Kitchucation bins that were located in Derby and Ansonia that we knew were on that truck route.
And did you in fact go back and assist in that?
Yes, I was there present while the state trooper from Major Crimes processed both. There was 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby and 1 bin in Ansonia on Main Street.
And now, when you say 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby, where was one of the bins located? I guess one site of where the bins were located.
They were in a parking lot, I believe it's for St. Michael's Church, and it was the southwest corner of the parking lot, right in the corner by Bank Street and Derby Avenue.
Okay. In relation to this case, were you tasked with gathering any type of surveillance from the surrounding area?
Yes, based on the intensity of the crime and the amount of information that was coming in from all different sources, there was a group of different agencies, including Ansonia, Derby, FBI, State Police, that helped work together to try to obtain as much surveillance video as we possibly could. Over the course of the investigation, there's been thousands of hours of video that's been obtained. I personally have watched countless, hundreds and hundreds of hours myself, rewatched the same videos over and over again. But there was, some cameras and some information that would come in would lead us to further information to where to look for the next camera. So it was a lengthy process to continue to obtain surveillance video.
Now, when you were looking through this various surveillance cameras that law enforcement seized in relation to this case, were you looking for anything in particular?
So at the point of this investigation, initially I was looking for a vehicle matching the description of Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that was seen leaving the scene of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue after the officer's welfare check. As the investigation went on, there was information that led myself to look back into video for the victim's black Ford Focus. As we found out through phone data and other information that there were trips made to New Haven, and I didn't initially see the Nissan Sentra, but once the other information was developed regarding the Ford Focus, I was able to locate a vehicle that matched the description of the Ford Focus on the video.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 168. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, in relation to State's 168, can you tell us in this map of what is this 168? Can you tell us what this is?
It's a map of mainly Ansonia and part of Derby, Shelton, and on the legend, those are the cameras and their locations that were the most valuable to my investigation.
So, with regards to on the legend where it says crime scene 6.5 Myrtle Ave, it's a red, looks like a red tag. Would that be in the area up here, pointing to the middle top portion of the map, where there's a purple, green, and red tag clustered together?
Yes.
And would this be the box, the closer up look to the right there, where the purple, green, and red tags are located?
Yes, it would.
So this is the area of the crime scene. So 22 Cottage Street. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what 22 Cottage Street is?
22 Cottage Street is a residence. Cottage Street runs parallel to Myrtle Avenue, and there is a perpendicular street, Judson Street, that you could access the end of Myrtle Avenue through from Cottage to Myrtle Street.
So if I'm standing in the front yard of Cottage Street, 22 Cottage, and I'm looking straight, what am I looking at?
You're looking directly down Judson Place.
Okay. Now, can you tell us whether or not there was any video that was seized from 22 Cottage Place in relation to this case?
There were many hours of surveillance footage seized from the Google Nest doorbell cam of that residence.
And were you able to, and you reviewed that footage?
Yes.
When the footage was seized, were you able to determine whether or not the footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, was it slow, was it actual date?
I was able to determine, based on the fact that it's a Google Nest camera, that it is internet-based and it was in real time.
I want to direct your attention to 14 Mott Street, which is this green tag here, which is again in this box to the right. Can you tell us where 14 Mott Street is in relation to 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
So Mott Street comes off on a Y angle from Cottage Avenue. It's just around the block. It's very close to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. There's no house on the property in between 14 Cottage Street and 6.5 Myrtle Ave. There's like an open lot there as part of the property, and the house had 3 camera angles on it, 2 of which looked directly up West Street to Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, so if I'm standing in front of 14 Mott Street and I'm looking straight out to the street, what would be directly in front of me?
You would see the intersection of West Street and Mott and Cottage.
So if I went all the way up West Street, what would be that cross street all the way up to at the top of West Street?
Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. And for these camera angles, are you able to see 6.5 Myrtle Ave from these camera angles?
Yes.
And do you know whether or not this particular was camera seized from 14 Mott Street?
Yes, surveillance video was footage was seized, I believe, on 2 different occasions from that residence.
And can you tell us whether or not, have you reviewed this footage?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us in reviewing the footage whether or not the footage of 14 Mott Street is approximate to real time, ahead, slow? What were your findings when you reviewed the footage?
Based upon corroborating the vehicles and the people walking and everything on the videos from 14 Mott Street and 22 Cottage Street, I was able to determine that the time was in real UTC time, which is Universal Coordinated Time, which is 5 hours ahead of our local time.
So when you were looking at this footage for the target vehicles in relation to this case, you had to look at, you had to subtract 5 hours?
Correct.
Now, I want to direct your attention to 2 Elm Street. That's the orange tag here in the legend, which is located in the center, just about in the center of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 2 Elm Street is?
2 Elm Street was the old Ansonia Police Department at the time.
And can you tell us whether or not you were able to seize any camera footage in relation to this case from the old Ansonia Police Department?
Yes, we were.
And did you review all of that footage?
Yes, I did.
And when in reviewing that footage, are you able to tell us whether or not that footage is approximate to real time? Is it fast? Is it slow?
That footage is approximate to real time.
Now, when you're at the old Ansonia Police Department, can you just give us an idea of what the surroundings look like, the surrounding streets look like?
Looking out from the front of 2 Elm Street, there's an island across, a triangular-shaped island. Elm Street runs across the front of the police department. Looking off into the distance, going up the hill would be Platt Street. And Elm Street would continue off to your right, towards Main Street.
Now, 696 Main Street. This is the purple tag. This is the call-out box, or the up-close box in the lower right-hand corner of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 696 Main Street is?
That's the Ansonia Shell gas station.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from the Shell gas station in relation to this case?
Yes, we were.
And did you review any of that footage for the target vehicles that you've mentioned in connection to this case?
Yes, I did.
And in relation to your reviewing of that footage, were you able to determine whether or not that footage was in real time, approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
That footage was 11 minutes slow.
So when you're reviewing that footage, you had to take into account 11 minutes and speed it up, or at least look 11 minutes, or add 11 minutes when you're looking at the footage?
Correct. You had to add 11 minutes.
Okay. 4 Division Street, which is the yellow tag here. It just looks like it's just next to where the Shell gas station is. Can you tell us what that is?
That is Maria's Hair Gallery, which is in Derby.
What is, how close to the Shell gas station is Maria's Hair Gallery?
Directly across the street.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from this establishment?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that footage in relation to this case for the target vehicles that you've mentioned?
I did.
And in reviewing that footage, were you able to determine whether or not this footage was off in by any way?
That footage was in approximate real time.
Approximate real time, okay. And just as a point of reference, this blue tag here with the eye, which is located just south, where just above where it says East Derby, what is that tag?
That is the location of the education donation bins.
And would that be in the area of St. Michael's Church?
Yes.
In relation to this case, were you able to seize any video from 273 Derby Avenue?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Now, that's the dark blue or black tag right here, just south or just below where the purple and or the dark purple and yellow tags are?
Correct.
Give me one moment.
Your Honor,
Sorry,
I
let me
wonder
hear.
if Mr.
Gavin?
Joseph could just slide it over a little bit, because you're referring back to the identification box, but we can't see it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's perfect.
You got it?
Thank you very much.
All set?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So, again, where my pen is pointed here, the dark blue tag, that would be 273 Derby Ave?
Correct.
Were you able to seize any video from that area?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that video to the best that you could for any target vehicles that you think would be connected to this case?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And were you able to determine if that was accurate time, or was it too fast or too slow?
I didn't obtain that video personally, so I believe it appears to be in approximate real time,
Okay.
but I could not confirm that.
And finally, directing your attention to this light blue tag here, which would be 535 Main Street, just above the orange tag in this exhibit. Can you tell us what that is?
That's Auto Repairs Unlimited.
And where is Auto Repairs Unlimited in relation to the Shell station?
It's less than a half a mile away down Main Street, on the corner of Main Street and Father Slemmy.
And were you able to, was law enforcement able to seize any video in relation to this case from that establishment?
Yes, we were.
And did you review that video footage yourself?
I did.
And were you able to determine whether or not that video footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
I obtained that video footage myself, and it was 17 minutes slow to real time.
Okay. Now, in connection to this case, you said that you reviewed,
hundreds of hours of video looking for target vehicles, right?
Correct.
And what were the target vehicles in your mind? At this
It was
point?
the Nissan Sentra, silver in color, had a loud exhaust that was, noticeable on any of the videos that had sound recording, and the other vehicle was a black Ford Focus.
Mayor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you what the marked States Exhibit 169. It's a full exhibit. Do you recognize States 169?
Yes, I do.
And what is States 169?
That is a CD containing a video montage that we worked together on to condense all of the videos that we deemed important and relevant that contained video footage of the suspect vehicles. And I initialed that disc to show that I had, reviewed it before.
Testifying today?
Yes.
Okay. And in relation, in creating this video, does this montage have, I guess, notations in it regarding each particular video and whether or not it's on approximate to real time, fast or slow?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to play this for the jury.
Sure. How long is the video?
About 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes? Why don't we do that and then take our recess? Thank you.
So, one more question before we play the video. So, when you did the video montage in connection to this case, is this video from the entire weekend of November 29th through December 2nd? Or what portion of the weekend did you focus on?
The first and the second.
Thank you. Now, Detective Tresser, what video angle are we seeing right now?
This is a video from 14 Mott Street looking across the intersection up West Street towards Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. Just stop it there. When you were looking at this video, on all the videos, what in particular were you focusing on with regards to the defendant's vehicle?
I was looking for passengers or other identifying features of the vehicle, as well as other items that may have been in the vehicle at the time, such as the child that we were looking for.
In relation to the car itself, though, in addition to the loud muffler, you have some video that doesn't have audio. Visually, what were you looking for?
I knew it was a Nissan Sentra, an older model. It had a low-hanging exhaust that was visually defective as well as loud audibly. Had a sunroof, didn't have tinted windows, and it had specific Nissan stock wheels on it.
Do you recall whether or not there was a front license plate on the vehicle?
It did not have a front license plate.
Is that something that you would have looked for?
Yes.
Now, in relation to this video, part of the video here, 273 Derby Ave, was this slowed down?
Yes, it was.
For what purpose was it slowed down for?
The vehicle was traveling at a rather high rate of speed going past the condo where it was being videoed from, and we slowed it down to try to identify any identifying features on the vehicle.
And would this be going towards or away from St. Michael's Church?
That would be going towards St. Michael's Church.
And would this be going towards or away from St. Michael's Church, this view?
Away from St. Michael's Church.
And if you get to the end of the street here, is there a traffic light at the end of the street?
Yes, there is.
And what's the intersection at the end of this Derby Avenue here?
That'd be the intersection of Derby Avenue, Division Street, Elm Street, and Main Street, Ansonia.
And this would be the Shell gas station?
Correct.
Now again, is this is the Shell gas station? Would this be, is this the 11 minutes off?
Correct.
Okay, so if we're looking at the time and date in the corner, this would be December 1st, Sunday, December 1st, 2019 at 6:18 a.m.?
Correct.
Again, this is still the Shell station?
Correct.
And this next view would be Maria's Hair Gallery,
Yes.
approximate to real time?
Approximate to real time, yes.
That's another Shell station video right there?
Yes.
And this is the Auto Repair Unlimited video?
Yes, it is.
So if you're going down Judson Place right now, where this car just took the right from Cottage, Myrtle Ave would be where?
It'd be on the right-hand side.
This is from Mount Street. Mount Street. That one's Cottage, right? Mount Street, yeah, really. Both again, Mount Street, yeah. What time did this say?
We just saw the Mott Street camera. Is this the car coming from Mott Street towards
Correct.
Judson Place? Now, this next part of the video is going into Monday, December 2nd. You said one of the target cars was Christine Holloway's car?
Yeah, it was a recently purchased black four-door Ford Focus.
Okay. Now, in relation to that clip that we just saw at 4:29 a.m. on December 2nd, were you able to, you had information from call detail records with regards to the coming and goings of certain handheld devices at this point in time?
Yeah, so the information regarding Jose Morales' cell phone and Christine Holloway's cell phone, there were trips that were made out to New Haven. And based on that information, I went back and reviewed the video to find what appears to be the black Ford Focus leaving and coming back at 2 times on the morning of the 2nd.
This is West Street. That car just went up West Street.
Yes, that's West Street, and it's taking a left onto Myrtle Avenue and stopping right there where 6.5 Myrtle Avenue is.
Is this vehicle the stop sign, the vehicle that you were focusing on?
Yes.
In connection to this investigation, were you aware that there was a welfare check
Yes, I was.
at 6.5 Myrtle Ave? Okay. And the footage we're about to see is the welfare check from December 2nd?
Correct.
And that would have been what, do you remember what officer that was?
That was Officer Chris Kelly.
Would that be the officer at the top of Myrtle Ave there, crossing west?
Yes.
Attorney Gavin, is this a good time to break, or
That would be great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
we're going to stand in our 15-minute afternoon recess? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll resume in 15. afternoon. Thank you. All right, if we could have the witness retake the stand, please. Thank you. All right, so I will remind you to remain under the obligations of your oath. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, if you could bring the jury in. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We are ready to proceed. Counsel, please stipulate to the presence of our jury.
In the presence of the jury.
State will stipulate, Your Honor.
All right, we're all set. Attorney Gavin, are you ready for cross?
All set.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good, yourself?
Great. Did a lot of hard work in this case.
There was a lot of hard work.
All right. I have all the police reports, so I'm just going to run through chronologically with you what it appears, the efforts that you took as part of this investigation. And we start off on Monday, December 2nd, and I think you said at that time you were primarily assigned to the DEA task force. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and you wouldn't have been assigned to report out of the Ansonia Police Department when you're on the task force, correct?
We do get called in for major cases.
Right, but in your normal affairs, you're working with the task force. You're not going to the Ansonia PD Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, that is correct.
Right, okay, all right. So you're doing your job at the task force on Monday, and I think you told us you got contacted to report to the Ansonia Police Department. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you went down to the task force. Do you remember what time you got there? Approximately. I don't need the...
My hours of the task force are 9 to 5.
Okay, so it would have been after you were after the task force.
When I responded to the police department, yes. I got the call around 9 o'clock at night.
Okay, so 9 to 5 at the task force, went home or did whatever you did, and then you got a call about 9 p.m. On Monday night?
Yes.
Okay, and then you reported to the Ansonia Police Department, and then at the Ansonia Police Department you realized or were told or you were advised that there was an ongoing investigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then do you know who Officer Nelson is?
Yes, I do.
And who's Officer Nelson?
Officer Brendan Nelson, he's a junior officer to me.
Okay.
Works for the police department.
At the Ansonia Police Department,
Correct.
right? And he was involved in this investigation as well, correct?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so I think you told us that the first task that you had was, after reporting to the Ansonia Police Department, was to go ahead and travel to 105 First Avenue in New Haven. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the purpose was to check on some vehicles there. Is that correct?
Correct, to locate Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Okay, that was your charter for that evening on Monday evening, was to find Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Correct.
Right, and that's the Nissan Sentra we just saw in all the videos, the montage.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Sure, yeah, and you went there and you got there in the evening hours, correct?
Yes, late evening, going into the next early morning hours.
Okay, and did you go up to the residence at that point, or did you and Officer Nelson just sit and wait once you discovered the vehicle?
We sat and waited in the car, just maintained visual surveillance of the vehicle.
Okay, and you didn't want anyone to move the vehicle or drive away with the vehicle, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I think you told us at one point that you had actually walked down to take a look into the vehicle from the exterior of the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and was it snowing heavily at that point?
I believe it was snowing on and off at the time.
Okay, great. And how long were you there with Officer Nelson before other brother and sister officers arrived?
I don't know the exact time of our arrival in New Haven, but the other officers arrived around 3:40 a.m.
Okay, and that was people like Detective Adcox and Detective Froelich and other brother and sister officers from the Ansonia Police Department
And New Haven Police Department as well.
and New Haven, because you had alerted them that you were there to go ahead and observe the Nissan Sentra.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then about 3:40 in the morning, officers approached 105 First Avenue and made entry voluntarily into the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you go in then?
I did.
You went into the house with, I'm going to pick on him, Detective Adcox or Detective Froelich. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when you got into the house, did you observe that Mr. Morales was there?
He was called up from the basement.
Okay. Well, it was 3:40 in the morning, right? People were asleep at that point?
I don't know.
Okay. It'd be fair to assume at 3:40 in the morning. Withdrawn. You went into the house. You met Marcos Garcia, you told us, correct?
Correct.
His stepfather, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you met his mother, did you not? Lydia
Yes.
De Jesus, right? She was there as well. And at some point, Mr. Morales, I think you just said, came from the basement and went up into the living room, kitchen area of the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at that point, was Mr. Morales under arrest?
No.
No. Was he asked to go voluntarily to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
And did he agree to voluntarily go to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
Okay. And I take it, did you go with him to the Ansonia Police Department, sir?
No, I did not.
Okay. You stayed and continued to secure the vehicles. Is that correct?
Correct. Myself
Okay.
and Officer Nelson.
All right, great. So Mr. Morales left from New Haven, went up to the Ansonia Police Department. You didn't go, and I think you told us, correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point in the early morning hours, a tow truck would have come, would have secured the Nissan Sentra, and would have taken it to Troop I in Bethany. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay, and you observed all of that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And by the time that did you travel with the car all the way up to Bethany?
I did. I followed it.
Oh, okay. So now it's probably past daybreak at that point or close to it, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was 5:40 when we towed the vehicle from New Haven.
5:40 in the morning, okay, and then had to go all the way up to Bethany.
Correct.
Okay, so that's Monday. What did you do in regard to the investigation on Tuesday?
The following day, I responded to the Troop I barracks, and my presence was there while the CSP Major Crimes processed the Nissan Sentra.
Great. Can you just tell us what you mean by major crime process, the Nissan Sentra?
Yeah, so there was a search warrant for Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that we towed there, and Connecticut State Police Major Crimes Unit was the one that executed the search warrant, processed the evidence, sealed the evidence on scene, which was later turned over to myself to transport to the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay. And I know you were on the task force, but it's not unusual in major investigations for local agencies like Ansonia to call on the Connecticut State Police to assist. Is that fair?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Not on a shoplifting charge or a speeding ticket, but on serious investigations. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they're available unless they're out on another scene, correct? Yeah?
To the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, yes.
All right, so they processed the car, you're up there, you're just sort of observing that you're not actually doing the processing, correct? On the
Correct.
Nissan Sentra. Okay, and what did you do next at that point?
I left the Troop I barracks, traveled to Ansonia to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, put on personal protective equipment to enter the residence, which was still under maintenance by our officers there for the active search warrants, and went into the residence to obtain Christine Holloway's Ford Focus key,
Okay,
and then that vehicle was towed to Troop I barracks as well.
great, okay. And when you say the property was secured, 6.5 Myrtle I'm talking about, the property was secured, you went in to get the Ford Focus key, that's the black Ford Focus, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that residence was secured, meaning that the public couldn't go in there, or anybody could go in there at that point, correct?
Correct, it was an active crime scene still.
Active investigation, correct? Yeah. And you told us that search warrants had been granted to go into 6.5 Myrtle at that point, correct?
Yes.
And was there also a search warrant for the Ford Focus?
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what time the search warrant was signed, but
And you were able to retrieve the keys for the Ford Focus?
yes,
Okay, from inside the residence of 6.5.
correct.
Okay, and what'd you do with the keys?
I transported the keys and followed the tow truck, which towed the vehicle to Troop I.
Okay, and was the vehicle processed at Troop I at that point?
Yes, it was.
Okay, had they completed the processing of the Sentra?
Yes,
Okay, and then now the Ford Focus had shown up and you had the keys so we could start the car and get in the locked vehicle, correct?
yeah, they processed it the same as they would any other vehicle.
Great, and you observed that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then there appears to be a notation that you and Detective Brian Hart started to interview neighbors in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. Is that correct?
This is on the same date.
Yes, sir. It looks like it was on December 3rd at 6:26 p.m.
I'd have to see my report exactly to see who was interviewed, but
Okay.
it sounds about right. At that time, there was a lot going on, so we were breaking off in different directions constantly.
Okay. I respect that and I understand that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just obviously, we had the Ford Focus issue up to Troop I. You didn't go home after that. You continued to assist in the investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And do you recall when? I know it's 5 years ago. Do you recall whether or not you went ahead and assisted in regard to a canvass in the neighborhood at that point?
I have to see my report to see exactly what I did on that evening after I transported the evidence back.
If you don't recall, it's okay.
I don't recall off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
That's okay. All right. Now, let me talk to you about Thursday now on December 5th, okay? All right. I think you testified that you arrived up at the Community Crusade for Children, the Kiducation facility up in Hamden. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you go up there with any other brother or sister detectives?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head who else was there, but most of us in the Detective Bureau responded there.
Okay. All right. So let me just ask you this. If you recall, what was your responsibility when you went up to Hamden to Kiducation?
Once we arrived there, the main priority was to make sure all the evidence that was coming off the trucks, possible evidence coming off the trucks, was secured. The facility was basically secured, the entire facility, until major crimes arrived on scene. They processed the facility for any evidence.
Right. And when we say we processed it, I'm just going to go a little quick here. That means that Connecticut State Police, major crime came, and they went through all the bins and all the bags, and they notated the evidence, and they cataloged the evidence. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have to do any of that?
We did. We all took part in some of the searching of different areas based on the large amount of clothing and shoes and other stuff they called trash that was there. So we did participate in some of that.
In the search, but you weren't cataloging evidence item 47, 48, 49, 50. That was Connecticut State Police that did that?
Correct.
Okay, great. And were you there all day?
A large portion of the day.
Okay. Do you recall, sir, taking custody of Jose Morales at some point and bringing him to the Ansonia Police Department to execute the body warrant?
I recall that incident, yes.
Okay, just tell us in your own words what happened in regard to the body warrant.
So on December 3rd, after Jose Morales was transported for the voluntary interview at the police department, he was transported back to 105 First Avenue. A search warrant was obtained for 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
Yes.
Upon execution of the search warrant, myself and another officer located electronic defense weapons, stun guns,
Yeah,
within Jose's bedroom pursuant to the search warrant.
yeah.
He was a convicted felon at the time when we looked it up. So I contacted my connection at New Haven Police Department.
I'm just asking about the body warrant. Did
Well,
you
this,
take him?
this all led up to the transport of the body warrant.
Let me withdraw the question. Wasn't there a body warrant, a search warrant executed by a judge of the Superior Court, Judge Pearson?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and you took Mr. Morales in custody and you went ahead and executed the body warrant. Is that correct?
He had to be transported to a place for the body warrant to be
Great, and that was the Ansonia Police Department.
correct. But he wasn't in custody for that purpose. At the time, he was in custody for the stun guns.
I understand, but you transported him for the execution of the body warrant, the lawful authority to go ahead and inspect his body. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you there during that?
I did not stay for the body search warrant.
Okay, you just transported him up to Ansonia PD
Correct, myself and Officer Castillo.
and Officer Castillo from New Haven up to Ansonia PD, and then you didn't stay around after that?
I don't know if I was still in the facility, but I wasn't present while the state police conducted that search warrant.
Okay. You don't know whether, or do you know whether the Ansonia PD or state police executed that warrant?
I don't know off the top of my head. I wasn't involved in it.
Okay. Let's see if we can move on. After the body warrant was executed, there were a number of search and seizure warrants that were authorized by a judge of the Superior Court to go into 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And did you participate in any of those searches?
I believe I was there for one of them.
Okay. Okay. And what was your responsibility for the one that you were there?
To search for the items that were listed on the search warrant. I believe at that time it was items related to the missing child investigation.
Okay. Sir, did there come a point where you started to review the surveillance videos, that some of which we saw in the montage?
Yes.
When was that?
I can't exactly recall when I first started, because every time I would get a chance and video would come in, I would start trying to view it, and then we'd get called to education or other topics. The first video I did watch was Officer Kelly's body worn camera, and that would have been on the second, prior to heading over to the residence at 105 First.
Okay. Was it significant for you to go out and other brother and sister officers to see if you could obtain neighborhood surveillance video to see if there was any indication that the Nissan Sentra, the Ford Focus, was in the area 6.5 Myrtle?
In these types of investigations, large-scale investigations,
Yeah.
one of my top priorities is always to go out and not specifically look for any particular vehicles, but to save and secure any available surveillance video that may be out there so it doesn't get deleted or destroyed.
What did you do to secure any video that it wouldn't be deleted or destroyed?
So when we find video,
No, what did you do?
what did I do?
Yeah.
I went to different locations, Derby Avenue, Auto Repairs Unlimited, Main Street Shell Station, for example, and those videos were copied to thumb drive to secure them.
Okay, so let's just take the Shell gas station, for example, okay? Did you go out there and obtain that video? We saw it in the montage that was admitted.
So Officer Castillo had first went to the Main Street Shell gas station to try to obtain the video, but the manager wasn't there. I went as a follow-up. I wasn't familiar with that system, and at that point I called Detective Sergeant Froelich at the time, who was at the command center,
Okay.
and members of the FBI responded to help download that video footage.
Okay. I'm just sort of asking you in general because we know, and we're going to play the montage again, not with you, you don't have to worry about that, but we're going to play the montage again. But there were certain locations where video was obtained, like on Derby Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Auto Body Unlimited, correct?
Correct.
Maria's hair design,
Yes.
correct? By the way, before I get too far, on Derby Avenue, were you able to recover any video of the Morales vehicle at St. Michael's at the donation boxes?
No, I tried.
Tried but unsuccessful?
Correct.
Okay. So, as the investigation continued, you wanted to go ahead and collect video to see if there was anything of evidentiary significance. Is that fair?
Correct.
And you did that, correct? Okay. Now, then did there come a point where you accompanied, I believe it was Detective Adcox, to the New Haven Correctional Facility to interview Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Objection, this is outside the scope.
It's part of the investigation.
Well, I mean, it is outside the scope. I'm gonna ask the jury to step out. Attorney Gavin, it is outside the scope, it seems, to the court. Why don't you tell me your profile on this?
I have 2 questions left. The last things that my records indicate that the officer did was he accompanied brother and sister officers to the New Haven Correctional Facility on 12/30 and also on 12/12. Those are my last 2 questions. Just part of the investigation. I'm not going to go into what happened in the interviews or anything like that.
Of him going to the facility.
What's the relevance?
Part of his investigative efforts.
All right, so you're not going to go into anything regarding the investigation at this time at the corrections facility?
Oh, no, that's Detective Adcox.
All right, so relative to his conduct as part of this particular investigation, I'm assuming it had something to do with this particular part of the investigation, is that correct?
With regards, well, just so we're clear, what part of the investigation we're talking about?
Right.
On December 12th and also on December 30th, he went to New Haven Correctional where Mr. Morales was interviewed. He didn't conduct the interviews, Your Honor, so I don't want to...
Right, so Attorney Gavin, I'm just trying to stay within the confines of my order. If the purpose to go there was pursuant to investigating the disappearance of Vanessa Morales subsequent to Mr. Morales's arrest with respect to this particular part of the investigation, then that may or may not be opening the door. I don't want to do that, so if you want to provide the court some clarity.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't hear what you just said, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
So I said to provide some clarity, because if we all know the scope of the court's order, I don't have to repeat it, right?
Right.
So if the purpose in going for those particular interviews was for this investigation or this part of the investigation, then that's one thing. If it had to do with follow-up relevant to the disappearance of Vanessa Morales, we're not going to bring that before this jury. So I just, and that was at your request,
Yes, absolutely.
counsel, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this before we start opening doors.
Your Honor, to answer your question directly, Mr. Morales wasn't arrested until February.
Okay.
So the investigation that led to his ultimate arrest was ongoing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into any details in regard to what happened there because he didn't conduct the interview. It's just part of his investigation that he went there on 2 occasions. Those are the last 2 questions I have.
All right, I just wanted to make sure it was not subsequent to the arrest in this matter, and it was not solely related to the disappearance of the child. You can understand why.
Sure, and I agree, and I appreciate that because that was my request. But this officer, I think, will testify that he didn't conduct any investigations up there. I believe that that's factually accurate.
All right, so if it, as it relates to this particular investigation, the fact of the matter that he actually went to the corrections for the purpose of being an alongside for an interview, I don't have a problem with. But there was nothing asked about the interview. I don't want to get into that. That is definitely outside the scope.
And he couldn't even answer because he didn't participate.
That's fine. Then I'll allow those two questions
So I
limited
guess
to that.
my other question is, how is it relevant then if he didn't participate, right?
I guess it's just to show what he did relevant to this investigation. He has been asked about his conduct relevant to this investigation. So we've already allowed questions about canvassing the neighborhood, which was also outside the scope. So I'm going to allow it as it relates to the investigation, just the fact that he did those two things as an assist, and other than that, I'm not going to allow you to get into details, okay? All right, so subject to those limitations.
I feel like the state would be at a disadvantage, though, Your Honor, if the question was asked, because on redirect, if I said, well, why did you go to?
Well, why don't we play that out right now? Attorney Gavin asked the question. Thank you.
Detective, two last questions for you. Do you recall going to New Haven Correctional Facility on December 12, 2019 with Detective Tresser and, with you, and Sergeant Froelich?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall going to the New Haven Correctional Facility on December 30, 2019 as well?
Based on my recollection, I was there the
Right.
second time.
I'm not going to ask him this in front of the jury, but just for purposes of the proffer. You didn't conduct the interview with Mr. Morales, correct?
I did not.
Yeah.
So my question would be, why did you go?
What was your purpose in going?
So when we conduct investigations and interviews, generally we go in pairs. We don't go somewhere by ourselves. So we go either in pairs or three of us travel together. Depends on what the crimes are, where we're going, just in case other assistance is needed.
I'll allow it. It doesn't seem prejudicial to the state. It's not outside the scope, and it doesn't get into any of the details of the interview, which this particular witness did not take part of. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep it limited to that proffer. And is there anything else that needs to be heard? No?
I have no other questions for the boss.
All right, so we'll bring the jury back in. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Counsel, please stipulate to the return of our jurors.
State will stipulate.
All right, so the objection was, it was overruled in part, sustained in part. You will hear an answer to the question. Why don't you re-ask the question, Attorney Gavin?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Detective Tresser, last question for you, sir. Okay. Do you recall, as part of your investigative efforts, going to the New Haven Correctional Center on December 30th, 2019?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Attorney
Nothing
Jurison,
from-
nothing further. All right, very good. Sir, you may step out of the witness box. You're all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to adjourn for the day. You will be going home to inquisitive people, and I am going to give you a little bit more of a detailed instruction right now because you do have the weekend. So I will just let you know that this case has been heavily monitored by social media, so it will be on the news. I'm sure there'll be some sort of coverage on social media as well as regular media this weekend. I would ask you to please avoid any publicity about this case. Remind you of your obligation, of your oath. People will want to ask you questions as well as tell you information about this case if they know that you're serving on a jury and they have any idea that it is this particular case. You are reminded that not only are you to receive any information, you're not to provide any information to anyone relevant to this case. So should you happen to come across anything, please turn your back away from it, your attention away from it immediately, and move about your day accordingly. Other than that, we do anticipate coming back for evidence here. I'll ask you to report at 9:30 on Monday. I did tell you that I would try to keep you advised as to our schedule, so I will keep my bargain on that. It looks like we'll be hearing from more state witnesses on Monday, Tuesday, and maybe Wednesday at some point in time next week. I do anticipate the state will rest its case in chief, and then if the defense decides to present any evidence, we will get into the defendant's case in chief next week. However, please be reminded, the defendant is not compelled to present evidence. They don't have to present evidence in this case. So that remains a little unclear, but that's where we are in terms of a timeline and what to expect next week. If the defense does present evidence, the state will have an opportunity to present additional evidence in rebuttal if it so chooses. Okay, so we are on track, and I can maybe say optimistically a little bit ahead of where we were when I first told you 4 weeks. Okay, so I think maybe a little sooner than 4 weeks, but I won't make any promises at this time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all Monday morning at 9:30. Thank you. Court stands adjourned.